I mean, in a way, it's like, I mean, for me, like I've always wanted to kind of try and write like some short stories and like some fantasy novels. I've been reading fantasy for as long as I could remember, and this what the stories did for me and like
Yeah.
I was like the imagery and everything that I was able to paint in my head is what got me into these role playing games, especially the fantasy based ones, because of the fact that I was like, oh man, it would be so awesome to like be a part of something like that, and it kind of allowed me to.
Yeah.
So I mean that's what was so just intriguing about it. And for me, when I'm playing the game, it's like I get to, especially if I'm a GM or a DM, I get to kind of create that story, And like I said, I mean, I use the adventure path, but at the same time, what kind of stuff can I build into that? What kind of dynamic can I like provide? And I mean, another thing that really just got me thinking about that is Glass Cannon.
Yeah. So Glass Cannon is a podcast that I had been recommending to you to listen to for the longest time. And
I literally was so horrendously against listening to this podcast. And he's like, you got to listen to it. You got to listen to it. And I'm like, I'm not going to listen to people play a role-playing game on a podcast. I think that that's the most ridiculous thing ever. So about a couple months ago, I was like, all right, I'm in the car and I'm working, I could listen to like an episode and just try it out. And I put it on, and this podcast has like I think 158 episodes, and now in that time since I've started listening, I've literally caught up on every single episode
in
of
like
this.
weeks, right?
I think it's like somewhere between 6 and 8 weeks, like somewhere around that.
Well, okay, so if you listen to podcasts and you've already caught up to all of ours and you have nothing else to listen to, go online and go listen to Glass Cannon. It is so entertaining to listen to. It's done really well. You will be laughing while you listen to it and enjoying the story.
One of the main things I love about it is it makes me feel like I'm living, in like the like 1930s or 40s before there was like a whole lot of televisions and everything.
When they sat
like
around,
like listening to like War of the Worlds,
Yeah. They sat around like watching the radio and listen to the story.
Right. And it like War of the Worlds. I think about War of the Worlds all the time when I'm listening to Glass Cannon, just because of the fact that Troy, the GM in that game, Skid, one of the guys on there, Joe, Grant, Matthew, all of them are so good at putting together their characters and kind of like developing them. That just makes you want to listen to it. They have such good character development and storyline, and the way that like Troy puts it all together and builds on it, is just
so these guys are
fantastic.
All brilliant entertainers to begin with, and then as they're doing the game, their ability to pick up on what someone else says so fast and go off of it.
Right. And like a whole lot of improv, it absolutely just engaging stuff. So
yeah. And if you like that, they also have a couple others. They have Androids and Aliens, which is the Starfinder, and you just started that one.
Yep.
And then they have a Patreon stuff where Ruins of Aslan and some other great content.
Right.
I'm all caught up on all of it. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely enjoyable stuff out there. I mean, there's some other like YouTube channels and everything that have some pretty decent stuff. And there's other podcasts out there that have gameplay on them. I don't think that any of them are come close to what Glass Cannon is doing, honestly. But
yeah,
I mean, for some, they might find them very entertaining. It's just I'm so invested in the story that they're putting on with the Giant Slayer campaign on GCP.
So much that I mean, you listen to so many episodes so quickly, and then you're like, we have to play right now. Let's make this game happen.
Yeah, I mean, I had successfully not played any role-playing games for probably since college. So, I mean, probably going on 14 years, since I finished college. And, like, I'm a musician and everything, and I had my wife thinking that I was, like, somewhat of a cool dude. And then the next thing I know, I'm listening to this podcast. I'm like, nope, I have to play as soon as humanly possible. I missed this game so much, and I had no idea how much I missed it.
So the other night, all of us and our wives, we go to the bar, and we're all going to hang out. I walk in, and there's Matthew and his wife, and I walk up to Matthew. I'm like, okay, I have a question about this spell, and we just go into this conversation, and your wife just looks at me like, really?
Yeah. Nerds.
Nerd.
Yeah.
Good times. All right, so why don't we take a break right now and
Okay.
come back, and I'm going to hit you some trivia, and we'll talk more RPGs.
Sounds good.
All right, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Rico and I are having a great time making this podcast.
And we want to keep doing this.
So please subscribe to our channel
Get the word out.
and let others know about us.
Now back to our show.
All right, welcome back. You ready to do some trivia?
Word.
Excellent. I'll take this as a yes.
Yes.
All right, number 1. Matthew, you're both a musician and lover of role-playing games. This question is about both.
Dun dun dun.
Which of the following is the Pathfinder spell that allows a character to gain haste while maintaining bardic performance? Gain haste while maintaining bardic performance. Is it A, Allegro, B, Moderato, C, Presto, or D, Vivace? I probably butchered those words too, didn't I?
The first one, Allegro.
Allegro. That is correct.
Yeah.
Have you heard it before, or you just knew it?
Well, I've heard it before, and also, I mean, it also makes the most sense. If you're a musician, you should know what Allegro is.
Well, Presto and Vivace were also time.
But yeah, I'm not gonna get into music nerdage, but yes,
All right, one kind of nerdage in a night is enough.
right.
All right, you're right. All right, number 2. It's not surprising to hear that Kevin Smith or Felicia Day enjoy playing role-playing games. However, which of the following celebrities has not talked about their love of the game? Is it A, 15-time NBA All-Star and 5-time NBA champion Tim Duncan, B, NBA Coach of the Year of 2009 and NBA champion of 2016 Mike Brown, C, 4-time Stanley Cup and Hockey Hall of Fame inductee Scott Niedermayer, or D, 6-time All-Star and 3-time World Champion Kurt Schilling?
I'm gonna go with C because it's the only person I haven't heard of.
Who, Scott Niedermayer? He
Yes.
played for the Devils and the Ducks.
I hate hockey.
All right, well, you're still right.
Woohoo!
All right, cool. All right, number 3.
Numero tres.
In role-playing games, players create characters with statistics and abilities. To add flavor, the player can also give the character a backstory, which also gives an ability. Which of these choices is not an optional background? Is it A, Gutter Snipe, B, Ragamuffin, C, Urchin, or D, Charlatan?
It's either C or A.
So C was Urchin, and A was Gutter Snipe.
I don't recall seeing Gutter Snipe, but it might be in like one of the updated books, so I'm going to go with C.
C, Urchin. The answer was Ragamuffin.
Oh.
Yeah, Ragamuffin. Interestingly spelled Ragamuffin.
What's funny is when you originally said that, like that was the one that blared out in my head. I'm like, no, that's not it because I haven't heard these other things.
Yeah. Well, they were all basically like very similar. That's why I picked them. But a Ragamuffin is a sentient scrap.
You purposefully tried to trick me? You son of a bitch.
Every one of these questions was with the purpose of tricking. That's the whole point of this trivia.
I don't like to play fair.
So ragamuffins are sentient scraps of cloth, leather, and metal, sometimes said to be formed from the remnants of worn-out magical garments. But everything else was someone's background.
Right.
So going on what we were talking about before in character development, here we talk about backgrounds. So on my character, I gave a whole backstory about where this character came from, and its background, essentially, he was in the desert working, picking up this cactus that would eventually make some kind of like opioidic
Pesh.
Pesh, yeah. So in the RPG world, it's called Pesh. So he works out in this field, and therefore he gets the ability, anything with fire or heat, he has some resistance to it.
Cool.
And I chose that because it does make a good backstory, but also because I thought in the story we're going to be in the desert, and I might need that.
Yeah, that was one of the trait campaigns, though, right?
Yeah.
Right. Campaign traits. Yeah, I said that backwards.
All right, we're going to edit that out and change it up.
Who cares?
So can you give me some characters you've created in the past that you're just so memorable?
Well, I mean, like I said, you're playing a monk in this current campaign, and I told you don't fuck it up because they're my absolute favorite.
And what I did. What I do?
You kind of fucked it up, but
Of course. One game in.
I've got really high expectations.
Right.
No, I actually like the way that you're playing it, and I like the way that you put together your backstory. And it's just like from having that be like pretty like monks and rangers were always like pretty much my primary class that I like to play just because of specifically what their abilities do.
Right.
But
what is it about a monk that draws you to that character?
Unarmed combat.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they're going in when all these people are just like decked out with like all this crazy stuff, and just being like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
I find that just completely badass on another level, and it's, I don't know, I think that like their demeanor and everything draws me to like playing those characters, and just how they interact with the world, a lot of insight, a lot of, like looking for, inner meaning, things like that,
Yeah, I think
they have the balance that I wish that I had for myself. So
yeah, I was just playing not too long ago. I was playing it was I want to say druid shapeshifter. Thank you very much.
Shit chapper.
Shapeshifter. Yeah. So this guy, he was a lycanthrope. So he already he was like
lycanthrope.
He was part cat, part man, and he could shapeshift into all kinds of other creatures. And on top of that, he's a druid.
Right.
And
I'm sorry, like I just keep on hearing the Batman theme because I saw Catman in my head.
So every episode, every time we played, I had to make cat puns the whole time we played. And if I didn't make one person's eye roll, I wasn't doing my job.
Yeah, why would you do a thing like that?
Yeah, perfect. So, yeah, that kind of stuff, that would not go over well with that group. But, yeah, I enjoyed this character, and he was a fun-loving dude that just went around the world and did his thing.
I mean, there's, like, all these endless possibilities and everything like that, and I mean, I definitely find myself at times, like, kind of sticking to what's familiar, and I definitely want to branch out from that. But I mean, to be able to get into a community that like embraces the whole culture of the game, is like can be challenging at times, so it's like finding people that want to play role-playing games and really kind of like understand what the process is. It's like I love my wife, and she sees that I enjoy it, so she wanted to kind of try and give it, the good old college try.
Yep.
And I started running it for her, and she's like, "So you're just rolling dice?" And I'm like, "This game is not for you."
Yeah. You also, I think you said that you did a voice for the NPC, the non-playable character, and she looked at you funny, like, "What is that?"
Yeah. So like I go through the whole process of like, okay, you're in a dark forest, and you're wandering through blah blah blah, and I was like, and you come up to a house, and you know that you're supposed to be here for whatever reason, and then I go, "Hello, how are you doing this evening?" And just immediately get eye rolls and chuckles, and I'm like,
yeah, this is gonna be a fun game.
Yeah.
It was very hard for me to learn how to just talk as if I'm the character.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched, in the very first game I played, I watched this guy. He was a half-orc, and he just got into the character, and he got this voice, and I mean, this guy was this little guy, but he became this giant half-orc in my imagination. And I loved it, and I thought, this is great. And it took a while for me to talk, and how would my character talk? And so what do you say? And it's really cool. A lot of fun.
Right. Question about half-orcs. So, like, if a half-orc continues on with another human, so I guess at that point there would be only a quarter orc. Quarter orc, right?
Yeah.
Why don't they just call them quirks?
That's a great question.
That's what I want to call them from now on, anyways.
Are there any half-orcs in Pathfinder? Yeah, I guess there would be, because
it's one of the major races.
Yeah, nobody in our game. I'm playing a human monk.
Mm-hmm.
We have a human ranger, a dwarf cleric.
Yeah, we have 3 humans and we have 3 humans and a dwarf.
Yeah, I went very boring.